The Older Men in the Margin study is a 2-year project looking at men's experiences, men from hard-to-reach, marginalised or seldom heard groups, their experiences of loneliness and social isolation, and in particular looking at the ways in which they seek to alleviate and combat loneliness in later life. A very big welcome to our second workshop on this topic. It's great to see you all here. It's great to have a really good turnout. One of the groups that we focused on were older men who are single or living alone. And the reason why we focused on this particular group is because we know from previous research that living on your own and being single can both be risk indicators for experiencing loneliness as we get older.
The lonely time for me is in the evening, especially in the winter, when you pull the curtains and you switch the light on. That is not so good then.
I can have a little bout of loneliness and regret, just any time, but it usually only lasts a little while.
The biggest problem of all is confidence. For anybody, walking into a new situation is a challenge. And so it's easier to just not bother.
This looks like being in a bottomless pit, being a sense of emptiness, feeling cut in half. We interviewed 44 men, heterosexual men who were single living alone. Half of those men were living in urban areas, half of those men were living in rural areas. And there were many different triggers associated with their experiences of loneliness. For some men, it was in relation to retirement. For a lot of men, it was in relation to bereavement and the loss of a spouse or partner or relationship breakup. For other men, it was associated with living with a chronic illness or living with a disability which might restrict their mobility.
In men in particular, I think it's shyness and not being used to making friends. They've worked and all their friends have been colleagues in the past, or their friends have been their partner's friends. And if they get departnered for whatever reason, I mean myself, my wife died 15 years ago, and she told me at the time, if you don't go out and make friends, you're going to be an old lonely person. And it nearly happened.
It's often the woman who remembers everybody's birthday. It's the woman who makes sure everybody sort of comes together. And if you go right up to your retirement with those attributes, not really socialising very much, not keeping family ties together, work is quite a big part of your life. When that finishes, then you've got a real sort of hole to fill.
I think loneliness in older men is a result of them, as it were, not thinking about it soon enough. I think that a lot of older men just go into retirement and they're not really prepared for it.
One of the things we wanted to learn about from our interviews with this group of men was what worked for them in terms of alleviating feelings of loneliness and keeping loneliness at bay. And how did they stay socially connected and socially engaged with other people around them?
And I do have moments of loneliness, but I just break the mould and I get out and do something. But I can quite imagine it's quite easy to get into a regime where you don't do anything and just give up.
Most of my neighbours come in for coffee every now and again. I go for coffee there now and again, and I find that very stimulating. We don't talk about anything in particular, just chit-chat, and it's lovely.
We thought it was really important to learn not only about how men experience loneliness and combat loneliness, but also the ways in which they stay socially engaged with others. So we wanted to learn about their participation in social groups, events and meetings, what kind of groups interested them, and also what might be some of the difficulties or challenges about getting to and accessing those groups.
I find that being involved in the community, doing things, is very self-affirming. People know my name, and that's quite a nice thing. People say hello to me. I even remember some of them.
We started a men's shed. We make things, but you don't have to. You can just come along, have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and have a chat, have a bit of leg pull, and stuff like that. It's not just about making things, it's companionship, friendship, and most of all, it's fun. That's the main thing.
Yes. I think there's a lot of information out there, a lot of learning about what does work.
People have got life experience, and I think, you know, if they are willing to kind of share that, but also willing to kind of share their skills, then I think that's definitely a positive thing, and it's a brilliant way of kind of getting engaged with your community.
The positives are you have time that you can spend with people. You've probably got skills that you learnt in the past that you could offer to people, you know, anything from driving to fixing things. In doing that and filling up, you know, positively, deliberately filling your time with useful things, you benefit from that as well.
To break, I really appreciate everyone coming on and participating today.
If I'm feeling a bit lonely, I walk uptown and I'll meet Bill or I'll meet Jim or somebody like that and have a chat for a quarter an hour, 20 minutes, and that makes your day, and it overcomes that loneliness sort of feeling.